Good afternoon. My name is Bill Newton. I am one of the marketing associates at Fpweb.net. You have joined us for today's Fpwebinar, Modern IT People as a Service. With me today is Brad Gleason, our Vice President of Client Development. Brad, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Bill.
Today's agenda. So let me try and set the table. We're going to first talk about why the push to as a service cloud computing. And we're going to talk about who is going to manage your data once you've gone to the cloud, and then how to modernize your IT with managed services, or as we're going to call them today, people as a service. Then we'll take some questions and give away a $50 Amazon gift card to one lucky winner. So let me advance this slide and we will jump right into it. So there's a picture of Brad.
So that was me 40 pounds lighter. And, I think it's only fitting because it is Fat Tuesday.
It is Fat Tuesday.
After all. So
we followed up a Valentine's Day webinar with a Fat Tuesday webinar.
That's
from now on, we will be only having webinars on holidays.
That's not true.
Okay,
but look for me wearing green for the St. Patrick's Day webinar. Yes.
Okay. So let's start with software as a service. What is that, and why are people doing that?
Yeah, so software as a service is really, think of it as your on-demand software. So this is software that you're accessing online. It's part of cloud computing along with infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. So any of those software needs.
So when you talk about infrastructure as a service, that's the next part of cloud computing?
Mm-hmm. So if any of you had joined us for our Perfect Storm webinar, we kind of talked about cloud a little bit, and we talked about infrastructure as a service, and AWS is really kind of making their mark, or known as the infrastructure as a service play in the public cloud. So this is inclusive of virtual machines, online version of physical computing, and resources, location, data backup.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a pretty good overview, and like you said, associating that with AWS is kind of the infrastructure as a service leader.
Correct.
Which leads us to platform as a service.
Mm-hmm. And again, drawing back from our last webinar or two webinars ago, this would be Azure. Okay, so platform as a service is that stable. This is your operating system, database, and server.
Okay, all right. So that covers software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. I think the only thing that's left is storage as a service.
Yeah, so this one, I think kind of gets glossed over, but this is, where Google lives, right? And you're leasing or renting storage infrastructure to store data. Just think of it that way. So your Dropbox, Google.
The Google Drive.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Google Drive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So So if you've moved everything to these as a service cloud computing providers, you've now moved everything to the cloud. Why? Why is there such a land rush for that service?
Yeah, and we talked about this as well. So let's have a little further discussion regarding capex and opex.
Great.
Some folks that are familiar working with their CFOs at their places of business understand that things have kind of shifted over the years. It used to be everybody was on a capex model because you wanted to depreciate equipment. There's tax savings involved in doing that, and so that's why a lot of folks did that.
Yes.
But as people know, in technology, those pieces of hardware depreciate pretty fast, meaning they're typically sometimes out of date even as quick as 6 months, and we're seeing that kind of even be faster these days. So things changed. CFOs are really looking for reliable cash flow. So that's inflow and outflow. So that's when things kind of changed from this old capex model to an opex model. And CFOs really like to see a rate that they can understand it's going to be steady on a month in, month out basis.
Gotcha.
So that's what's made that a much more attractive model, and you see a lot of companies going this direction in their line of thinking regarding monthly predictable expenses.
Okay. So you think about the difference between buying, a server that you put at the end of the hall, in that closet, versus renting top of the line equipment in a data center somewhere else.
Right, and this picture always cracks me up because there's other elements here besides just the fact that where's your power redundancy, where's your cooling redundancy, where's your security. I mean, holy cow, there's a litany of reasons why
not even a door on that.
Exactly, that doesn't make, they couldn't put the door on it because it got too hot.
Right.
That's the reason why that happened. So the problem is, you're kind of, there's certain data that you're going to want on-prem, right? So making sure that that's still a possibility, but there's still a mad rush going to the cloud, and we all understand that. And part of that is also supported by the capex and opex model.
Okay. And then, speak about, so it's easier, right? So why is it easier?
There's ease of use and scalability,
okay,
right? So that's the reason they're doing it too. So you've got the servers there, technology gets old pretty quick, and so there's not a lot of scalability with that too. So it's infinite scalability, right, with the cloud, and that's part of the reason why folks have made the mad rush, as well as the pay-as-you-go model. Okay. So again, it's the opex model. You're paying as you go, and so people have kind of gone that way because of the initial cost savings that are involved.
And you can see how that would be an attractive option for, like you said, a CFO when you're talking about being able to spin up these servers with basically a click of a button, as well as being able to scale up with the click of a button, as opposed to ordering more parts, finding another rack, finding more space in that closet,
finding the expertise to work on the stuff that you've got in-house too, right? So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense to go that direction with things that you'll ultimately want to go there with.
Okay. So those initial cost savings have often led, we've found out, many organizations to slash their IT budgets.
Correct. Yeah, and it's funny because it's kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to that slashing of IT budgets, because it's not just the slashing of the equipment side of the house and,
right,
and perceived gains as far as that's concerned, but it's also the people part too,
yes,
right? So one of the things that's happening is people have made this leap where, well, if we don't have all of this stuff that we're doing on-prem anymore, then there's certainly not the need for the same skill sets, and so this has kind of led to a big decrease in the people side of the house as far as these IT departments are concerned as well.
Wait a sec. So you're telling me that the end-all, be-all solution of pushing to the cloud and these infrastructure as a service and software as a service type platforms, they don't include the people?
They don't. So I think this kind of is a misconception too, that you'll hear this a lot, especially at trade shows and other venues where you get to meet clients and companies, where we have conversations like, look, we're going to the cloud, everything's good there.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's managing your stuff in the cloud? And then people don't really have a ready answer for that one. What do you mean? Who's managing it? That's part of the deal, right? So this kind of goes back to the whole expense thing, and understanding, okay, I let go of people, but those people that I let go of, did they have the skill sets necessary to do the stuff that's going to be
right,
necessary in the cloud anyway? So that's a conversation that obviously needs to be had.
So there's also a talent gap,
correct,
that you're having to work around as well. We're seeing that both, and it gets further as the more specialized, right?
We're not there. There's not a stockpile of good talent out there, and I'm preaching to the choir for every one of the people that are on this webinar. They know how tough it is to get the folks that they really need to be able to do the job and do it well, and then you go and you find that person who does the job and does it well and is willing to learn, and you take the time to train them and get them going. But because there's such a huge gap, well, they have a target on their back, and as a result of that, there's usually somebody else out there that's probably willing to pay more than what you're willing to pay, to keep those types of folks.
Yeah.
So again, it just exacerbates the issue.
And then we're back on that hamster wheel of searching, interviewing,
all
hiring,
over again,
onboarding.
and I'm sure there's probably more than one person out there that's already had experienced this crunch.
Absolutely. And there are talented folks already, like you said, that are managing that data on premises, but not all of them are willing or able to evolve to what's needed to manage that data in the cloud.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of managers and IT directors are out there have seen this, right? It's people who get into this line of work in this industry for specific reasons, and sometimes they are hard to change. And as a result of that, you might not have the skill sets necessary to be able to do a lot of the tasks that are absolutely necessary to perform at a high level in today's cloud computing.
So in order to modernize your IT, then, what's your solution? What do you need to look at next?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the thing that obviously you need to look at is people as a service, and that's part of what we're talking about in today's conversation. Regardless of the service provider that you need to go with, you're trying to fill a gap.
Yes.
Okay, and you're trying to extend your team as well. There's probably some folks out there that have very good people on their teams, and they don't want to lose these folks because they want to use them to innovate internally for their company, which is fine. That's part of the reason why you need to look for a managed services provider to be able to fill in the gaps and be able to lever that organization to put together the professional services necessary to do cloud computing very well in this day and age.
Yeah, Brad hit that right on the head. We see this all the time from clients that have a really talented person that's unable to work on strategic business that moves the company forward. It's so bogged down with the day-to-day putting out fires. And so you look at this people as a service as a way of unburdening that talent to be able to to fill that gap.
Yeah. So a lot of organizations have a really solid admin, and they're trying to stretch that person maybe into a DBA, a developer, or even get into the security side of the house, security analyst, and setting that person up to fail doing that, right? It's taking the person that fit into a round hole and trying to put them now into that square peg. It doesn't work very well because some people are resistant to, making that type of move. And as a result, we know it's hard to get those people and keep those people if you're even lucky enough to be able to, to find them. So that's where we come in, and other providers obviously are out there to come in to be able to help, with those types of needs moving forward. And in the end, I think it's really about freeing up your team to innovate.
Yep, absolutely. So if you want to see how Fpweb handles those managed services, you can go to our website, Fpweb.net /managed-services, and email us at sales@fpweb.net, or give us a call at 866-780-4678, and we can discuss your unique needs. Actually, Brad will discuss your unique needs.
Absolutely.
So I know we've got a pile of questions to get into, so what do you say?
Let's get to them.
Let's do that. All right, the first one, and this is pretty telling, is how much would that cost?
Correct. So this is a fairly this is one of the very first things we'll always hear. How much is it? How much is this going to how much is this going to take? And that's kind of one of the big differences between us and other folks. We're not ashamed of putting our pricing out there so people can plan for this and understand kind of what you're in for when making this type of decision. So when you're looking at our prices, and again, please feel free to go to our website, www.fpweb.net /managed-services, and you can look at our pricing. It starts with an admin. Our admin starts at $34.95 per month, and again, all of these services that I'm going to list out here, this is all based on a 40-hour FTE workload. Okay, so for an admin, that investment on our side is $3,495 a month, and I would challenge anybody out there who is looking or trying to get an admin for what they're doing. Make sure that you're calculating all the expenses, the benefits, and everything else of that employee, when making your calculations down this road. But with us, you're looking at $34.95 a month to start for that. Then, of course, you move up the food chain to a DBA. Okay, this includes the admin. So when we start talking about a database administrator, you're also getting an admin for $69.95 per month. So now you've got two separate workloads, right? Because the DBA is separate than an admin, but you're getting both of those folks, two 40-hour FTE workload folks for $69.95 per month. Okay.
Okay.
From there, we go to developer. And on the developer side, this includes your DBA and admin again. But now you're getting three 40-hour FTE workload folks for $12,495 per month. Okay. And then security. Now, security is a beast on its own, and that would take a whole other conversation. But just to kind of get you in the ballpark and understanding where we're coming from, a security analyst, that includes your developer, DBA, and admin, that's $21,995 per month. So that's 4 40-hour FTE workloads. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at from a pricing standpoint. And just so you know, we've also taken the time to list out the average U.S. payroll for all those FTEs on www.Fpweb.net/manage-services. Again, you can find all that information there. And how Fpweb's absolute support provides 50.3% multi-role savings. So that's, again, should make your CFO fairly happy.
Yeah.
All right. 24/7 access to expertise. So that's another thing. If you go out and you hire these folks, typically, unless you're hiring shifts, then there's going to be two 40-hour FTE workloads for the admin.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to provide 24/7 access to expertise. You get that with our services, so that's part of it as well. And again, something I mentioned earlier in the webinar, this also frees up your team to innovate, which, again, depending on the value of the team that you have, that could be invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next question I see is, actually this is more of a comment than a question. It says, thanks but no thanks. I'll pass on dealing with another call center in India that takes twice as long to respond or to resolve support requests.
I would pass on that too.
Yeah,
so I'd be the first person in line to say pass. And I can see where somebody might make that jump when they're looking at our pricing model and say, well, you guys are just outsourcing this to India. That can't be further from the truth. We put this together with folks that are based right here in the United States. As a matter of fact, most of them are based right here in St. Louis, Missouri, and that's part of our value proposition. It's something we're quite proud of. It's all U.S. based. So our database centers are ITAR compliant as well, and we take great pride in making sure that we take care of the folks here. We all understand if you've ever had to deal with a call center overseas, regardless of where it was from, sometimes the language barrier can be a bit problematic. Sure. And we just understand that when things are going crazy, the last thing that you want to do is add on another frustration on top of the frustration that you're currently dealing with in a break-fix scenario.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is never a good time for you.
Right. So again, something else I wanted to mention is that live person here in St. Louis responds within 45 minutes if your data is on-prem,
okay.
30 if you're in a public cloud like AWS or Azure, right. And within 6 minutes if you're hosted in Fpweb's private secure cloud. So those are your SLAs as far as that goes, and I'll put that up, against anyone. Yeah. Most reasonable people understand that if you're in the cloud or on-prem, it's going to take more because there's just more inherent, technical thresholds we're going to have to leap as a result of things that we're not owning. Yes. in our private cloud scenario.
Gotcha.
Another thing that person here in St. Louis is a trained engineer who begins working that ticket. Okay, so it's a live person. This is another thing that people experience in call center environments, that they have to go through an automated tree decision. And again, when things are frustrating enough already, yep. The last thing you want to know is, I just want to talk to somebody. I just want to talk to somebody. Live person. You've probably been, heard yourself saying that before. Just live person trying to get to somebody to take care of your problem now. And that's one of the things that you get here with Fpweb, and we're quite proud of that. We've just another fact that I want to make sure people understand. We've managed over 1.9 billion logins, okay, since 1999. We're a Microsoft Cloud Solutions partner as well as a member of the Microsoft Partner Network. And so we're more than capable and willing to take on, your needs.
Yes.
But no India.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, sir. All right. Next question I see on here that would be good is what kind of limitations to projects are there? I think that's going back to the difference between either bringing on a managed service provider to help with the day-to-day or to bring them on to help with some of the more specialized project needs.
Sure. So it just kind of depends on the need. But so here, I'll give you an example. With Fpweb's absolute support, we have some examples listed on the website. So that's always a good place to kind of check out first. So let me just run through a few, though, for you. So these are typical items. With admin, you've got your 24/7 help desk. These are things that are included, right? Emergency break fix, training, tutorials, migrations, upgrades, patching, backup, restore, and of course consulting as well. So that's just part of the overall amount of things that we'll do on the admin level. Okay. When we get to database administrator, we're talking SQL, Oracle, NoSQL, MongoDB, MySQL, database upgrades, monitoring, disaster recovery, and redundancy planning. Moving on to development, you've got to have specific skill sets to be able to handle all the different kinds of codes. So with us, it's SQL, Java, JavaScript, C#, HTML, CSS, custom code and site branding, search refinement, search scopes, configuration, maintenance, and secure code review, and of course custom web parts as well.
Okay.
And then when you get to the security side of the house, there's a whole litany of things there, but again, we don't have enough time to go through all of those, but secure cloud, encryption, advanced malware protection, 24/7 incident response team as well. So that's just scratching the surface there.
Okay. All right. And there's a list of many more support request examples that can be downloaded as a PDF from our website.
Yeah, and it does a really comprehensive job of kind of going through all those different scenarios and things that are of interest.
Okay. This question here says, how many hours come with those prices?
Again, so yeah, good question. And a lot of these questions we're getting, prior to the actual webinar here being over. So those prices are for a monthly subscription with Fpweb. Each subscription is based on a 40-hour work week workload.
Okay.
But there's no depreciating balance of hours with Fpweb's absolute support. You put us on a retainer and pay the same amount every month. So that's the thing. You've got static pricing there. There won't be changes as far as that's concerned, which is obviously easier to budget for than having to recoup for more prepaid hours inconsistently. Now again, the one thing I do also want to mention here is that this is all based on a 40-hour FTE workload. The reason why I keep bringing that up is because I want people to understand if you have a litany of issues or there's something out of scope of what one 40-hour FTE workload can do, then that would be scoped, out of it. Please have a conversation with me first. You would anyway, but to understand, what that absolutely means. But that's where all of this pricing comes from.
That's good. It's good explanation. This one says, our managed services only exist in the cloud? That's a good question there.
Yeah, and so we can help you there.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. It doesn't matter if it's in the cloud, if it's public cloud, on-prem, or with us in a private cloud setting, we can help those managed services anywhere.
Yep. So
that is a great question, by the way. Want to make sure you guys understand it. We can help anywhere that you are.
Yep. And that should be the sign of a good managed service provider is will they take care of your data no matter where it lives, or is there an if-then situation?
Yeah, so some things come outside of the realm of price, right? It's the quality, it's the value of whatever it is that if people are looking for a race to the floor as far as pricing is concerned, well, also expect if you're going to the floor that you're going to get the floor as far as the value of the services that you're looking for. So some of the things that you really want to take into account is your response time when you're talking to a provider. Also, you're going to want to understand what the location of that support is too. That's going to be important to you. And the expertise of the first responder. So how many people do you have to explain the problem to? You know, this is something that if anybody's used a managed service provider or anybody, you know, in the past that where you've had some type of ticketing system or you had to have a problem resolved, how many times do you have to explain it, you know, to people before somebody's actually capable of working the problem for you?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a question here that I think we covered this earlier about the SLA, so maybe we ought to hit that again.
Sure. So again, think of it this way. You know, look, the value of us or any private cloud, you know, the people, if they're managing your services well, chances are they're going to be able to, you know, obviously take care of your problem a lot quicker. So with us, if you're managing with us and we've earned the right to do your hosting business as well, we have a 6-minute SLA, which is pretty good.
And we're not talking about an automated email that's generated.
That's not a live person. This is a live person.
In the USA will respond within 6 minutes, tell you your support ticket has been received. We're working on it. Here's the next step. Here's any questions we have about it.
Yep.
And it begins at that point.
Correct. And again, it doesn't have to be in our private cloud. So if it's on-prem, that's usually going to be about 45 minutes because of the typical hurdles that we're going to have to go through, understanding, you know, what specific issues are, you know, happening on-prem, okay, and going through that scenario. The next one is going to be a public cloud, and if you're there, that's typically going to be 30 minutes from an SLA standpoint. So yeah, that's where we are from timing on our point. Okay. I think we've got a minute or two to take any other questions that might be a little bit different.
Let's see. What is the cost for storage?
So yeah.
I was going to say that's one of those variables.
It is. Yeah, it's dependent. So I'll tell you what, make you a deal. If you give us a call and explain to us, you know, what your situation is, you know, what you're looking to store, you know, how secure it needs to be, so on and so forth, we can help coach you there, and we'll give you our pricing as far as that storage is concerned. Okay.
I think this isn't the easiest format to read the questions, but I think we've tackled them all. So
good.
I will email you a link to a recording of this webinar along with a registration link for our next webinar, which will be next Tuesday, March 7th, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and it's going to be about Microsoft Premier Support alternatives. We'll be featuring my buddy Brad here, and it's going to be a good one. So I would definitely come back and visit us next week.
One other thing I just wanted to mention, if for whatever reason we didn't get to a specific question that you had, we'll make sure and get all those questions covered, and we'll get those back out through the website and blog. Right.
Once I print out this report, I'll be able to sift through those, make sure we've hit them all, and if not, we'll take them offline and get those to you. So,
perfect.
All right, it's time to announce the winner of our $50 Amazon gift card, and I'm going to go with Reggie Browning out of the hat. So, Reggie, congratulations. And
congrats, Reggie.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us.